Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of And the Adventure Continues. I'm Miss Liz O and I have Miss Liz Y with me today.
Hey everyone.
She's going to help make the decisions in this story. I'm going to be reading Surviving Mount Everest, an interactive extreme sports adventure. So this is a really excellent book. It has 35 different choices that you can make in here and 14 different endings. So this is a perfect book for you if you're going on a trip or you just need something to do and you only have room for one book. It's got 14 different endings. So let's get started. Surviving Mount Everest. So this is a little bit about your adventure. You are about to take part in one of the most difficult adventures. Mount Everest is a very challenging climb. Most people who attempt to reach its summit fail. Oftentimes, it is because of the weather or a random accident or an illness caused by the altitude. Other times, it is because of the poor decision making. Each year, a number of climbers even lose their lives. Your choices will guide the story and determine whether you make it to the summit. How will you proceed? Will you ascend with caution or charge forward for glory? Here we go. The plane's overhead speakers crackle and you hear the pilot announce, "We are nearing our destination of Kathmandu, Nepal's capital city." You peek out your window. The towering peaks of the Himalayan mountain range fill the horizon. Kathmandu will not be your final stop. You and your climbing partner, Charlie, have decided to test yourselves on the world's highest peak. Mount Everest rises just over 29,000 feet above sea level. While climbing Everest is an exciting challenge, your adventure comes with dangers. The adventure can be brutally cold. Avalanches have sent tons of icy snow crashing down on climbers. There is also little oxygen to breathe high up on the mountain. Reaching Everest's summit is a feat that only the hardiest and luckiest climbers can achieve. You and Charlie had made arrangements through a Nepali trekking agency. Upon your arrival, you are to meet your lead guide at your hotel. He introduces himself by saying, "My name is Manish, but call me Manny." Manny is short and lean. He speaks with confidence and is always smiling. During parts of the climb, we will have other Sherpas join us, he says. He adds, chuckling. They will help you, but they won't carry you. 6 months earlier, you and Charlie filed for the permits needed to climb Mount Everest. Manny's trekking agency will be supplying camping gear, special climbing equipment, and food. But Manny sent a list of things, from insulated boots to goggles, for you and Charlie to bring. He inspects everything. Gear must be in prime condition to lower the risk of anything breaking or wearing out. Before your adventure truly begins, you need to pick a climbing route. Mount Everest is a huge mountain with more than a dozen possible paths to its summit. Many are too difficult to consider. The majority of climbers take one of 3 routes. South Col is the most popular, but it starts off with the dangerous Khumbu Icefall. It is the route taken by New Zealander Edmund Hillary and Sherpa Tenzing Norgay back in 1953. They were the first to summit Everest. For the Northeast Ridge route, you will have an easy drive to base camp. Back in 1922, George Mallory made the first ever attempt to climb Mount Everest from the north. He failed, partially because this route is exposed to the mountain's harsh temperatures and winds. And then there is the West Ridge route, which is the most difficult of the 3. A U.S. team consisting of Willie Unsold and Tom Horbeen first conquered this route back in 1963. Since then, only a handful of climbers have been able to match their feat. Which route will you attempt to climb? So we have 3 choices: the South Col route, the Northeast Ridge route, or the West Ridge route. What would you like to do, Miss Liz?
Let's go with the West Ridge route.
Okay. I'm going to turn to page 65. Most climbers attempt to reach Everest's peak using the South Col route or the Northeast Ridge route. But you want more of a challenge, and the West Ridge will provide that. There are not any established camps up on the West Ridge, and therefore you will spend more time at high elevations in the thin air. Before heading to base camp, you need to decide how to get up to the West Ridge. You could start at the Nepali side of the mountain. This is the route Willie Unsold and Tom Corbeen of the United States took back in 1963. Or you could start on the Chinese side of the mountain. Back in 1986, a Canadian team established this route. Sharon Wood was among the team members, and she became the first North American woman to reach the summit. It's an exciting decision for the most challenging of routes. In which country will you start your climb? And this is where we decide. Do we want to start it in Nepal, or do we want to start climbing from China side?
Let's start from the China side.
The China side?
Yeah.
All right. So that means we turn to page 71. The next step in your adventure begins with a flight to Lhasa, China. From there, you have a 3-day bus ride to base camp. Manny shows you to your tent, where you drop off your gear. You spend the next 2 days hiking around the camp. There's not much to see in the bleak, rocky landscape. When you leave base camp, you hike up a valley carved out by the Rongbuk Glacier. About noon, you stop at a small camp. We will spend the night here, Manny says, as you and Charlie eat lunch. You see Sherpas leading yaks up the valley. Manny goes to chat with them. Then he lets you know that they are carrying supplies to your next camp farther up the valley. The following day, the going gets more difficult. As you reach the tail end of Rongbuk Glacier, you strap crampons on the bottom of your boots. These are metal teeth, and they provide extra traction on the icy terrain. About midday, you reach a small camp near the base of Everest's west shoulder. Several Sherpas came out to greet Manny. He brings 2 of them over to you. Meet Tenzin and Sanjaya, Manny says. They will climb with us. Gesturing at the half-dozen other Sherpas, and then the slope nearby, he says, the others will carry gear up the mountain. We could not carry all of it ourselves. The next morning, you hike over to the slope with Manny, Charlie, Tenzin, and Sanjaya. Manny points out 2 possible routes to the ridge. One is wind-blown with a mix of ice and rock along the trail. The other looks just as difficult, only it's out of the wind and somewhat covered in snow. So here's where we make another choice. Do we want to take the path that's ice and rock, or take the snowy path?
Ice and rock seems really dangerous.
It does.
That's like a dangerous combo, so let's go with snow.
Snow? All right. We are going to turn to page 80. Let's go that way, you tell Manny, pointing to the snowy path. That's a good route, he says. The snow acts like glue, holding rocks in place. Some might come loose if we climbed the other route. And this is the point where I'm going to pause at the story so you can check this out and come in and read it yourself, and you can follow along the way that we did, Miss Liz and I, or you can make your own path. So this is our last edition of And the Adventure Continues. So we would like to show you some other of our favorite books that we didn't have a chance to read to you. So I have, this is a Choose Your Own Adventure, part of that search for the Black Rhino. is an R.L. Stine one called Reader Beware, You Choose the Scare. And this one is number 10, Diary of a Mad Mummy. So if you like R.L. Stine and all that creepy stuff, that's a good one for you. And we did read one of our Scooby-Doo books earlier in the series, but this is another one, The Salem Witch Showdown. This one is actually a non-fiction book, and it's an interactive history adventure, and it's the Attack of Pearl Harbor. So if you're really interested in wars and things like that, this will be a good one for you. And this one is Can You Survive series, and this is Can You Survive a Global Blackout. This is a really good book. It's a nice, quick, easy read. Those of you that like Justice League, we have a series called the You Choose series, and this is the Ultimate Weapon. And here is another of the You Choose series. This is a fairy tale, and it is Rapunzel. Miss Liz read, which one did you read? Red Riding Hood?
Yes.
Yeah, so she read that one. We've also got Superman, Metallo Attacks. And the next two are You Choose books as well. Could You Escape the Tower of London? And Could You Escape the Paris Catacombs? Now I'm going to let Miss Liz Wide pop in and tell you some of her favorites.
All right, hello everyone. So I also have a pile of different Choose Your Own Adventure books here. So we actually do have a few Choose Your Own Adventure graphic novels, which are obviously just super cool in their own way. So we do have one called Meanwhile, and we also have one called Knights Club, which is kind of about like knights and princesses. So that is a really cool read. And I also have a Disney Choose Your Own Adventure. This one is based off of the movie Inside Out, and it has 20 possible endings. And similar to the mystery story that Miss Liz O read in a previous video, this is part of the same series. This one is called The Outlaw from Outer Space. It is a mystery series, and it's very similar to Scooby-Doo. So if you like Scooby-Doo, this could be a really cool series for you. I also have, let's see, I have some Lego Choose Your Own Adventure books. This is called Build Your Own Story Rogue City. So it looks like it does involve some of the superhero characters, which is really cool. And to sum things up, I also have a few American Girl doll Choose Your Own Adventure stories. This one is called A Girl's Best Friend, and this one is called Braving the Lake. So like Miss Liz O said, this is our last video in Anna the Adventure Continues series. Please feel free to stop by the library and check out any of the books we've read or any of the books we've just previewed to you. If you need help finding any of those selections, feel free to ask any of us in the Youth Services Department. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and thank you so much for watching our videos, and we hope to see you all very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.